Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. So it turns out that my notes weren't that off, and it was the fumes that were throwing me off. So let's go back to the beginning of the section that says, Jesus like Melchizedek. Again, this is Hebrews chapter 7. Chapter 8 is pretty key. Chapter 9 is extremely key. So again, Hebrews chapter 7, verse 11. Jesus like Melchizedek. If perfection could have been attained through the Levitical priesthood, and indeed the law given to the people established that priesthood, why was there still a need for another priest to come, one in the order of Melchizedek, not in the order of Aaron? For when the priesthood is changed, the law must be changed also. He of whom these things are said belonged to a different tribe, and no one from that tribe has ever served at the altar. For it is clear that our Lord descended from Judah, and in regard to that tribe, Moses said nothing about priests. And what we have said is even more clear. If another priest like Melchizedek appears, one who has become a priest not on the basis of a regulation as to his ancestry, but on the basis of the power of an indestructible life. Okay. So one who has become a priest not on the basis of a regulation as to his ancestry, but on the basis of the power of an indestructible life has come, right? From the tribe of Judah, not from the Levites, not from the people who were at the altar before, the Levitical priesthood. So as the tribe changed, right, the people changed, and the sub-people in this case, that, the order, the rules changed, right? So the law is like, we'll get to it in Hebrews 10, where it says the law is only a shadow of the good things that are coming. So the law isn't the true law of God, the law of the Old Testament, okay? But it was important to kind of help them understand what they're doing, because they weren't Royal African Falcon martial arts. They didn't really understand these principles. They were just common people who traded goods and so on and so forth. That was the kind of moral of the story. They weren't really emphasized as great warriors, but God is trying to teach them warfare. So he's trying to teach them to be like the Royal African Falcon martial art order. It's not a coincidence that they're right by Egypt, and that the Jews were in Egypt, and Joseph served Pharaoh, and so on and so forth, right? He was said to be the second in command. Okay. Now again, I'm not saying that all Egyptian pharaohs were good, right? Almost all Egyptian pharaohs were bad guys. Okay. Now, where was I here? Okay. For it is declared, you are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. The former regulation is set aside because it was weak and useless. For the law made nothing perfect, and a better hope is introduced by which we draw near to God. So the regulation that he had to be from the Levitical priesthood, that he had to, follow the law and do these useless sacrifices, okay, is gotten rid of, right? We don't have to sacrifice bulls and goats and so on and so forth, okay? Because that, as we'll get into later, the blood, in chapter 10, it says, it is impossible for the blood of the bulls and goats to take away sins, right? We'll get to that. It gets a little bit confusing. Chapter 9 and 10 will really shed a lot of light on what the purpose of Jesus sacrificing himself was, as a character in the story. And it was not without an oath. Others became priests without any oath. But he became a priest with an oath when God said to him, the Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever. Because of this oath, Jesus has become the guarantor of a better covenant. Now there have been many of those priests since death prevented them from continuing in office. So there's been many of these priests, and death prevented them from continuing in office. But Jesus is alive in the spiritual realm, is what they're saying at this point. But because Jesus lived forever, he has a permanent priesthood. Therefore, he is able to save completely or forever those who come to God through him, because he always lives to intercede for them. Such a high priest truly meets our need, one who is holy, blameless, pure, set apart from sinners, exalted above the heavens. Unlike the other high priests, he does not need to offer sacrifices day after day, first for his own sins and then for the sins of the people. He sacrificed for their sins once and for all when he offered himself. For the law appoints as high priests men in all their weakness. But the oath which came after the law appointed the Son, who has been made perfect forever. So let's go ahead and try to finish Hebrews 8 real fast. Let's just shoot through this. Hebrews 8, the high priest of a new covenant. Now the main point of what we are saying is this. We do have such a high priest who sat down at the right hand of the throne of the majesty in heaven, and who serves in the sanctuary the true tabernacle set up by the Lord, not by a mere human being. Every high priest is appointed to offer both gifts and sacrifices, so it was necessary for this one also to have something to offer. If he were on earth, he would not be a priest, for there are already priests who offer the gifts prescribed by the law. They serve at a sanctuary that is a copy and a shadow of what is in heaven. This is why Moses was warned when he was about to build the tabernacle. See to it that you make everything according to the pattern shown you on the mountain. And of course, people talking about shadow psychology and stuff like that, they're twisting this. They're not right with God. Their above is below. They worship the devil, and they're shadowing the devil. Okay. And they interpret this wrong. They're not supposed to worship the devil because I'm the son of God, and they're not, and that they have some copy, some fake tabernacle. They're supposed to obey God through me and learn from the motions they went through, the rituals they went through, why to serve God through me, not why to rebel. That's stupid. There is no reason to rebel. But in fact, the ministry Jesus has received is as superior to theirs as the covenant of which he is mediator, is superior to the old one, since the new covenant is established on better promises. For if there had been nothing wrong with the first covenant, no place would have been sought for another. But God found fault with the people and said, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel and with the people of Judah. And obviously, the Jews don't know what they're talking about. It will not be like the covenant I made with their ancestors when I took them by the hand to lead them out of Egypt, because they did not remain faithful to my covenant, and I turned away from them, declares the Lord. This is the covenant I will establish with the people of Israel. After that time, declares the Lord, I will put my law in their minds and write them on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. No longer will they teach their neighbor or say to one another, know the Lord, because they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest. For I will forgive their wickedness and will remember their sins no more. By calling this covenant new, he has made the first one obsolete, and what is obsolete and outdated will soon disappear. Okay, so obviously by them interfering with me, God punishes everyone according to their deeds, and certain whites, Jews, and LGBT people on behalf of their people led their charge to try to make their peoples look good. So what do you think God's verdict is against those groups? Should the wickedness, cause their groups to be elevated? No. No one can be established through wickedness. So curses on everyone according to their deeds, and you should be able to fill in the blanks from there.